Welcome, everybody. And I'd love to have you just give a little bit of attention to you so that when we do our Here I Am, I'd like you to let yourself, just as Michelle was sort of starting to get into with you, I'd like you to let your Here I Am, let yourself bodify your Here I Am. So we usually do Here I Am, but your Here I Am might be, here I am, or here I am. So let yourself just play with what's your here I am as you give attention to you. And then your I'm so glad. Would you be willing to give I'm so glad to however you are? So the I'm so glad can be your love scoops, if that's what your body's really needing and wanting. So letting yourself play with the here I am. So my here I am is a little bit, just feels a little bit, not really back in the cave, but a little bit. And then I can give love scoops to any place in my body where I'm really noticing that. So it can be love scoops, it can be drops of love, it can be a shower of love on you. So the here I am is, our expressions of expansion and contraction go on all day long, and they go on in all of our systems. And I love how, Miriam, how you're doing the whole body. So you can do as much or as little and you can go off screen, and you can, turn your back to the screen. So here I am, we're right now very much in a face front kind of setting, particularly with all of the screen time. So you might have here I am, it can, you can interrupt the whole face forward. So letting yourself play with that. And as I play with, here I am, and I'm so glad, what I notice is that my breath starts settling, and my breath gets more spacious and relaxed. So letting yourself notice, do it a few more times so that you can notice, any part of you that's wanting any kind of loving attention. And I think of love as being willing to be in the same space with. So that can be your touch, it can be your attention, it can be a little movement. I invite you, as we have done sometimes, to do your here I am with some of the fear melters. So you can do here I am an oozy here I am, or you could do a wiggly here I am, or of course then a love scoopy here I am. And I'm so glad. I really want to emphasize the I'm so glad so that we can activate joy in ourselves. Here I am. So no matter what's going on, here I am. And I have a chance to interact with the world today, and to interact with my friends and my partner and my cats and my plants. So I'd like you to extend your here I am to here we are. Here we are. And giving your attention more to the we and the out there. And then the I'm so glad, letting yourself receive the joy and the beauty from what you're observing and bring it in to you, so that you're extending that here I am to here we are. And I'm so glad it's all here to support my aliveness and the joy that I can find today. And letting yourself really own that, whether you want to let it sprinkle over you or whether you want to really let it grip and hold you. And also let yourself bring your hands back around to the back of you, just above your waist. If you can do that yoga thing of reaching behind you. I can't quite do that at the moment. So that you're giving some attention to your back, which supports you and backs you up and allows you to have love with a spine. So giving attention to your spine and going, oh, yes, here you are. And I'm so glad. Here we are. And I can bring in all of that here we are to support and refresh. Yeah, beautiful. And then just take a moment to feel how that settles your nervous system. If that creates, for me, it creates more spaciousness, and I can actually feel my vision widening. Because I think in stress and in fear, we definitely get blinders on. We're not able to really see and experience what's going on more broadly. So I find that my fear melters and my here I am, I'm so glad gives me space. I mean, literal space, but also internal space. So let yourself just notice and enjoy the the and you might want to just exaggerate that for a couple of times. The it might be a because there's also a sense of if I can just outrun everything that's going on, I'll be okay. If I can just keep keep going, I'm not going to have to be at the effect of it. So the so I find so much more resilience and availability. And I also feel an inner, almost an inner smile coming up. So I invite you to just notice the places in you that giving attention to you creates more space for enjoying and being able to respond in the world. Ah, so let me so that's our loop of awareness. So the key move in loop of awareness is to go the other direction. So whenever you notice where your attention is maybe even caught, is to go the other way. So most of our attention is pulled out, particularly, there's an oh my God element of if when you turn your attention out. So if you notice that, bring your attention back to you. That's why I like to start with the here I am and I'm so glad and the love scoops, because I want you to really favor love scoops so that you bring your attention back to you and here I am and I feel you and I'm with you, and then you can let the what's going on in the world that is not serving you, that can just move on through. So let's take a look at our card for today, our integrity card from our integrity deck. And while that's coming up, I want to just have you take a look at the card. So you're letting your attention go into the card and then letting the energy, the what you're noticing, let that return back to you, and noticing where in your body you're taking this in, what lights up for you. Like I'm noticing the little girl's smile, and it's a very complex smile, and so I'm noticing that and then feeling my own experience of that, and then I'm noticing the little critter. There's a looking out and there's also a looking in that is really at the heart of the loop of awareness. And so as you're looking at that, this is the card from emotional literacy, and the sentence is, I express my feelings in ways that are congruent with my inner experience. This is a biggie. I express my feelings in ways that are congruent with my inner experience. Congruent as in they match. And then the question is, how do I let my emotions and inner experience be noticeable to others? Am I willing to let my inner landscape, my inner life be noticeable to others? Am I willing to be open to contact with others? Am I willing to be open to being affected by the presence of others and for their presence to affect me. And as you're looking at this, particularly congruence, what I notice is that when my feelings, my expression matches my experience, there's a there's an opening that occurs that's really quite magical, where I come into a kind of alignment that allows me to move through the world really smoothly. I don't have jangles. And I notice that I get jangles when I hear other people expressing something, and I can tell by looking at them that it's not matching what's going on in them. I mean, and the gross form of that is someone will say, I'm fine. And I can tell by looking at them that they're not fine. So that's a great example of expressing that's not congruent with what's going on. And we have so much bias in our society to not expressing in a way that's congruent, because you get all kinds of messages of being polite and, don't say something that's going to upset other people. That's, keep your feelings to yourself, and that's not appropriate for work, and all these kinds of messages. But what I have found, and also in my interactions with others, is that when I tune into me and I'm saying something that's congruent, that there's an opening that occurs not just within me, but within me to other people. So what I'm noticing when I look at these two little people is an openness. So there's an openness to both giving, but also to receiving attention. So I'd like you to just double check inside you. Are you open to giving and receiving attention from a matching of letting people know what's actually going on with you, rather than, oh, I'll just get a little bit of attention for acting politely or appropriately, whereas inside I'm not feeling like that at all. So if you take a moment, just as you're looking at this, of how could you let your hands just for a moment express, paint or sculpt what you're experiencing inside in a way that matches it, and just notice how you experience that, how that feels to you. And let's come on back to the big group. This is a card that I like so much. I'm thinking about keeping it out so that I can look at it, because when I look at it, also the little critter, that is climbing up the the pole there, I have found that everything in my environment has consciousness. And so when I'm going out and about, when I'm doing loop of awareness, like I'm in the backyard and I'm doing loop of awareness, butterflies come, hummingbirds come, and I have interactions with all of the different life that's going on in my yard. And so if you imagine your space, your inner space, your outer space, and then your bigger circles of connection, that willingness to let yourself be authentic, is really what we're pointing to on the card. And that it gives you emotional literacy. And I want to live in a world that has emotional literacy rather than emotional dumbing down, which goes on so much. I can remember, especially as a child, that I just was not supposed to be curious. And what I also get from looking at this card is intense curiosity. And if we put attention together with curiosity, that's really the most wonderful way to bridge between ourselves and others. So let's take a look at our presence, connect, play. So I was just thinking about, I do a podcast after this, and podcasts are all, people listen to them. And so very frequently I'll tell Sophie, people are missing out when they're not watching, because my expression is, comes through my whole body. And that's really what I want to advocate in the world. So I'd like to have podcasts that where people get rewarded for watching rather than just listening, because we narrow down our, well, the information is coming through your ears and the rest of it doesn't matter. And all of the stuff that we're doing here and that we're doing with our bodies, that just sort of gets lost. So I invite you to let yourself be spontaneous as you're moving around in the world. I invite you to be spontaneous on your other Zoom calls. And the worst thing that's going to happen is that people think that you're strange and weird. But this is a community where weird and strange is very welcome. And I think it's necessary for us to bust out of our, various restrictions and being socially appropriate. Because where has that gotten us? I mean, just think where has that gotten us? So our other process that we take a look at, presence, connect, play, really includes all of the things that we've been talking about and gives you something else to do besides falling into the triangle. So most of the structure of interaction these days is on the triangle of the hero, the victim, the villain. And what I've noticed now from practicing presence, connect, play for many years now is that people are starting to initiate it with me. So I know that I'm more available. I'm more available to have, I'm more accessible, because I went behind, and I bet a bunch of you did, during COVID and during all of the political stresses for us here in the States. People have gone back in. So as I've been practicing presence, connect, play, the big thing that happens is that I get to have more interactions with people that are really based in giving and receiving attention. They're nourishing, and they can be like a minute, or 30 seconds, or, passing. And so I come back from any of my ventures outside feeling more nourished. And so that's the big purpose here, that presence, connect, play allows you to do, really, what else are we doing? People think, well, I'm accumulating things, I'm getting things, I'm working towards something. But, that just leads people toward what I call the myth of arrival, because I've worked with really hundreds of people who have gotten the stuff, who have done the thing, have reached the goal. And then there's this huge now what, because there hasn't been this development of how can I give and receive attention in my life and in my day. And so your practice of presence, connect, play, I think has all kinds of benefits. And it doesn't happen if you don't practice it. So the practice for today, ooh, wonderful. Presence. Give yourself a drop of love, or several drops. I know it says give yourself a drop of love, but you could have more than one. But let yourself just notice where in me or around me is wanting some love. And then you just reach out into because we're surrounded by love all the time, just reach out and get yourself a dropper full or a spritzer and just apply it and then receive it. So, so there's the applying, and then there's the how can I receive and absorb and spread it throughout my body. And ooh, I want some more. So I want a little bit more at just the top of my neck here. And then give yourself a breath or two to absorb, and then notice how your body wants to bodify when you're absorbing. You can do slurpees, and you can do num 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 nums, or you could wiggle. You could make weird sounds to receive. So I think since so many of the structures of society have broken down, let's make some new ones, and let's have them be a lot about spontaneity and authenticity and joy and sharing love. So, and that all starts with presence, being here. So connect is the fear melters. So fear melters, my big prescription is, when in doubt, fear melters. Because one, fear melters cannot hurt you. So just a little review is your oozing. Oozing is especially good through the shoulders, where we can tend to accumulate our outrage. And so moving your oozing or an oozy mouth. So you can do all of this in your upper body and it affects your lower body. But, and let yourself ooze your feet and ooze through your legs. How can you do that? Just trying that out. So just you letting yourself, and you can ooze in different directions, because I almost always ooze to the side, but we can, we can ooze diagonally. There's all kinds of, and so you can take also your wiggles in all kinds of directions and find a place in you that hasn't wiggled in like forever, and just let yourself wiggle that. And I'd like you to notice as you're doing wiggle, your freeze could be way in. You could be pulling yourself in. So I like to, belly dancing is great, is a great form of wiggling. So letting yourself just take a little kind of belly dancing through your belly and through your hips. Yeah. And then your rooting. Ah, for me, I can feel the rooting doesn't have to slow me down, because I had thought of rooting as I have to kind of be still and I have to find my feet, and it's very serious. But you can be rooting while you're letting your circulation, slurping up love and energy from the ground, from the area around you, and circulating that through you, so you can root and expand. So you can play, and we've done a bunch of love scoops. So I really invite you, anytime that you're wanting to connect, there's almost always going to be some kind of fear coming up. So you can also do little mini ones, little mini love scoops and melters. Oh, and then play is exaggerate your persona or role. Whoa. So the key to play in my experience is exaggerating. And what so instead of, almost always when we give attention to ourselves, there's this message to stop it, fix it, do something different, work on it. But we're hardly ever said, well, just do that some more. If you're feeling all kind of, well, do that some more and see what comes out of that. So I'd like you to just give a little attention to a persona or a role that you found yourself in just the last period of time. It could be home alone. It could be, this is unacceptable. Just let yourself notice. And I'd like you to take a moment to exaggerate your, yes, to exaggerate the persona, the role, your response, take it a little further. And then what I notice is that something comes out of that. And because I'm not holding on, I'm not trying to control. So something comes out of it. And then I can start playing. And so playing doesn't always have to be funny, haha. Playing can be taking different aspects of and tossing them, and seeing what wants to emerge from that. So basically, I want us all to move and breathe and love more. I don't think I have a wristband right here, but we used to hand these out in our trainings, and the little band said, breathe, move, love, because that's really the basis. And you can apply breathe, move, love to presence, connect, play too, because they go together very well. And I kind of love three things, because when you have just two things, you can get into na, na, na. But when you have a third, it starts more circulation and more movement. So thank you for being with me today and co-creating. I'm just like, because when I look out at you, I get inspired by what you all are doing, which is very full of energy and love. So thank you. And so please stay and communicate and as much as you like. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Mwah. Take care.
Thank you.